little girl stands barefoot in the dirt, her hands shaking, her voice breaking as she looks up at a man everyone else fears. Her mother hangs unconscious from a tree behind her, left there as a warning. The town watches in silence, no one steps in, no one dares. But the man she begs isn't just a biker. He's something else entirely. And when he lifts his eyes, the world is about to change. Before we begin, take a second and tell us where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories of courage, justice, and silent honor deserve to be told, please subscribe. Now let me tell you a story you won't forget. The rope burned into her wrists, not fire worse than fire. A slow, grinding cruelty that stole feeling inch by inch, replacing it with numb terror. Maribel Cruz drifted in and out of consciousness, her body swaying slightly where she hung from the old oak tree at the edge of town. Her toes barely brushed the dirt, each shallow breath felt borrowed. The bark pressed into her back like the judgment of something ancient and indifferent. Below her, the town stood frozen. Men in work boots, women clutching purses, phones held low, not recording, not helping, just pretending to be busy. No one spoke, no one moved. Silence wrapped the scene tighter than the rope. And then there was the girl. Luna Cruz couldn't have been more than 7. Her knees were scraped raw. Dirt streaked her cheeks where tears had carved paths through dust. She stood directly beneath her mother, arms stretched upward as if she could somehow hold her up, as if her small body could carry that weight. They said she stole. Luna whispered to no one in particular. But she didn't. I swear she didn't. Her voice cracked when she turned. He sat on his motorcycle a few yards away, a dark shape against the afternoon sun. Leather jacket, heavy boots, a skull stitched onto his back. Tattoos crawled up his neck like shadows refusing to stay buried. The town knew him as a hell angel. People crossed the street when he rode through. Parents pulled children close. Rumors followed him like exhaust, violence, prison, blood-soaked roads. Luna didn't know any of that. She only saw a man with eyes that looked tired and kind. She ran to him. She grabbed the edge of his jacket with both hands, as if afraid he might disappear. They hung my mom on a tree, she sobbed. Please, save her. The biker didn't move. For a long moment the world held its breath. His name was Elias Grave Mercer, though no one in town knew why he carried that nickname. They assumed it had something to do with death. They were wrong. Grave lifted his gaze slowly from the girl's trembling hands, to her tear-soaked face, to the woman hanging limp from the tree. Something old and terrible stirred behind his ribs. He had seen this before. Not ropes, not trees, but injustice dressed up as righteousness. Punishment without truth. Crowds that chose comfort over courage. His hands tightened around the handlebars. Grave bore the marks of a life lived in silence. A jagged scar disappeared beneath his collar, a souvenir from a war most people forgot as soon as it ended. His left knee ached constantly. Metal plates humming with pain whenever the weather shifted. His eyes, those eyes, held the weight of names he never spoke aloud. He had learned long ago that shouting changed nothing. Silence, though silence could shake the world. Before the leather, before the patches, before the road became the only place that made sense, Elias Mercer had been a soldier. He had enlisted at 19, fresh out of a town just like this one. Poor, proud, forgotten, he learned the smell of burning metal and wet sand, learned how fear tasted coppery and sharp, learned how to hold dying friends while whispering promises he couldn't keep. He had been a medic. That was the part that never left him. Hands trained to stop bleeding. Eyes trained to see life slipping away before others noticed. A heart conditioned to choose action over hesitation. The war took pieces of him it never gave back. When he returned home, there were no parades. No jobs waiting. Just sideways looks and closed doors. So he rode. He found others like him, men and women carved hollow by service, bound together not by chaos, but by loyalty. The Hell Angels weren't what people thought. They were veterans, widows, survivors. They had rules. One of them was sacred. Protect the innocent, always. Grave hadn't spoken that rule aloud in years. But as he looked at Luna, it roared back to life. The men who had strung Maribel up were still there. They leaned against trucks, arms crossed, smug certainty baked into their posture. A local shop owner had accused her of stealing medicine. Insulin for her daughter. He claimed he'd seen her slip it into her bag. No proof, no witnesses, just accusation. And the town had nodded along. Lesson, one of the men muttered earlier. Don't steal. No one asked why a mother would steal medicine. No one asked if maybe the system had failed her first. They chose spectacle over truth, and now they waited to see what the biker would do. Some hoped he'd leave. Some hoped he'd cause trouble so they could justify their fear. Grave didn't either. He swung his leg off the bike. The leather creaked softly. His boots hit the ground with a finality that sent a ripple through the crowd. He knelt in front of Luna. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. It was the first kindness she'd heard all day. Grave stood and walked toward the tree. A man stepped into his path. Big, red-faced, self-appointed authority. "You don't belong here," the man said. "This ain't your business." Grave didn't respond. He simply looked at the rope, at the way it bit into flesh, at the way Maribel's chest barely moved. The man followed his gaze and sneered. "She'll live. Maybe next time she won't steal." That was when Grave's jaw tightened. Not in anger. In resolve, he reached into his jacket, not fast, not threatening, and pulled out a small silver whistle. Dented. Old, military issued. He raised it to his lips and blew once. The sound cut through the air, sharp, clear, unmistakable. Then he waited. The crowd laughed nervously. "What's that supposed to do?" Someone scoffed. Grave said nothing. 3 minutes passed. The wind shifted. Engines began to growl in the distance. At first, it sounded like thunder. Then the town realized thunder didn't roll in formation. From every road leading into town, motorcycles appeared, black silhouettes against the horizon. Headlights like unblinking eyes. One by one. Then dozens. 99 bikers rode in silence, their presence heavy, deliberate. They didn't rev. They didn't shout. They parked in a wide arc around the tree, forming a wall of steel and flesh. Each wore the same patch. Each dismounted as one. The air changed. The men who had laughed stepped back. Someone dropped a phone. Grave turned to face them all. "These people," he said calmly, "are under my protection now." No threat, no raised voice. Just truth. One of the bikers, a woman with grayed hair braided down her back, stepped forward and cut the rope with practiced efficiency. Maribel was caught before she hit the ground. Another biker checked her pulse. "She's alive," he said. Luna collapsed against Grave's leg, sobbing with relief. Grave rested a hand on her head. "She's safe," he murmured. The red-faced man tried to speak, tried to reclaim control. Grave looked at him. "You mistook silence for weakness," he said, "and patience for permission." Another biker added quietly, "We don't come looking for trouble, but we always finish it." The town watched as medics, real ones from the bikers' ranks, worked to stabilize Maribel. No one stopped them. No one dared. When the sheriff finally arrived, he took in the scene, the rope, the bruises, the witnesses who suddenly found their voices. Grave handed him the shop security footage, retrieved earlier, showing Maribel paying with crumpled bills, showing no theft at all. The sheriff swallowed hard. Charges were filed, arrests made, not because of fear, but because truth had finally been given room to breathe. As the sun dipped low, Maribel was loaded into an ambulance. Luna held her hand, eyes never leaving her mother's face. She looked back once. At Grave. "Thank you," she said. Grave nodded. "Take care of her," he replied. "She's stronger than you know." Climactic visual payoff. As the bikers mounted their rides, the town did something unexpected. They stood, not in defiance, in respect. Hats came off, heads bowed. Silence this time, the right kind. The engines started together. And just like that, they were gone, leaving behind a town forever changed. Some heroes don't wear uniforms anymore. Some angels ride motorcycles. And sometimes, the smallest voice, the voice of a child begging for her mother's life, is powerful enough to summon justice. If this story moved you, comment where you're watching from. Share what this moment meant to you. And subscribe for more stories that honor silent strength, unseen sacrifice, and the courage to stand when the world stays quiet. Because silence, when chosen with honor, can shake the earth.